Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. And Into the Afroverse is where we're taking Black folks into the future. Today, I'm really excited for my guest for a couple of reasons. One is, I love all types of films. I love all types of readings and so forth, books types and so forth. But one of my favorites is horror. I love the horror genre. And today we're actually joined by a horror writer. Now, we've had other types of authors on. We've had some supernatural folks, we have comic book authors and so forth. But today's guest, Mr. Frederick Williams, really specializes in horror writing. And to give you a little bit more of a background on Mr. Williams, this riveting author, he writes books that, in his words, are unputdownable. I love that. He talks about the way that stylistic horror is full of shocks and surprises, and he has mastered the art of sardonic writing and palpable storytelling with stories such as No One Gets Away, Master of Being, The Last Nation, Master of Self-Savior, The Last Day, For All, and many more. He's also has two-sentence horror stories. It's another book written by our guest today. Unbelievable, Terrific Pure Horror, Blood Bathing, and Cold Bodies are a few of the words that will be driving you into his work. Lastly, we have Tales from the Reapers. This is the third book written by Frederick Williams. Tales from the Reaper explores and details the theme of abuse, racism, crime, and dystopia in a pure horror setting. This author's modern and unblemished prose trails the reader through an eerie, sinister world of insanity. Wow, I cannot wait to get started. And with that, I would like to welcome Fred Williams. How you doing today?
I'm doing quite well, thank you. I don't know what to say after that one. I don't know what to say, but well, I do have one correction.
Mm-hmm.
The title is Tales from the Rapers.
Rapers.
Yes, it's Rapers, not Reapers. It's
Whoa.
Tales from the Rapers.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we definitely got to talk about that. Because I'm looking at my notes and you're right, but I'm thinking horror and Reaper popped in my head, but yeah, Rapers. That changes everything.
That and then when you see the cover, it tells it all.
Excellent.
So when I say hardcore horror author writer, when you see that title and that picture, you know what I'm not playing.
Right. Excellent. So let's get right into it. What got you here? What put you in this space of becoming this horror writer?
I mean, I guess I just grew up with it. I mean, when I was little, mm-hmm. I paid for watching horror movies. And I'm talking the ones from the 70s and 80s.
Right.
I grew up watching them under my bed covers. And then I said, hold up. I want to do that and better. I want to be just like that and better. So I just started studying all the master horror movies and stories that I came across growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started, I'm going to work on doing it better.
Right.
I found, I grew up scaring the hell out of people without telling those stories. I just scared people. I'm sorry. I'm just scaring people. Every Halloween, people like, okay, where's Fred at? We'll make sure we find him because I know he got something for us. So that's how I was. People like, this man, you sure you ain't one of these characters? And you ain't telling us?
I hear you.
That's how I started, and it's grown since then. It's been growing since then.
And what is it you think about horror that's so appealing to people? Like I said, I love horror films and books and so forth. What do you think it is that people just keep coming back to be scared?
Well, I shared this with another interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my main point. I tell people, I'm going to continue to tell people that everybody I talk to, horror tells more truth than the Bible.
You got to explain that one, bro. Folks out, I'm sure right there when you said that, some folks out there said, "No, he didn't." Now, don't turn away, folks, because we're gonna let him explain. So go ahead.
Because everybody knows and understands and relates to fear,
Mm-hmm.
and is honest. Horror is honest and fearless, and everybody, nobody never debates horror and
Right.
fear. Nobody debates fear. So that tells the truth, and everybody experiences it. Everybody experiences fear. So just imagine you writing it and doing it.
Right.
That's the most honest thing. There's no debating that. It's no, well, it's my interpretation, or I rewritten it. I rewritten the scripture 1,000 times.
Right.
You can't change that. You can't. Nobody cannot not understand fear and scaring the crap out of you. So that's why I say, oh, that's hard. Or tell truth more than on the Bible, because there's no debating it. There's no interpretation. Ain't my opinion on it.
Right.
Everybody gets scared.
Right.
So that's why I say that, and it's hard to debate that. You might not agree with it, but it's hard to not say it's wrong.
Gotcha.
Horror is, we know it was in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I write my stories. It's nature.
Right.
It's natural. And you experience it, everybody experiences it once or several times in their life. So that's how I write my stories. My stories is natural fear, or nature, or human nature fear. And that's the greatest stories to tell.
I see. I got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
Ain't nobody getting around that.
Right.
I don't care anybody on this planet not getting around that. So I had a story called "No One Gets Away," because no one does. It ain't one person that did wrong or did something horrifying that got away with it.
Wow.
Not one on this planet in human history. So my stories is based on that type of knowledge, and then I add mathematical thinking to my stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I try to make mine unique. That's why I said, man, some of the horrors, they just shock and gore. Most of them are just emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It's just emotional. It has no story. It's just an emotional horror story, because it's just emotional. Mine's no. You don't know why you're going to die. You don't know why you're going to die.
And could you give us an example? You said you use math. Could you give us an example how you incorporate, math into your horror, this mathematical horror, as you put it?
Well, yes, sir. What I use with mathematical thinking in my stories is based on truth and law. Mm-hmm. 1 + 1 = 2. Nobody can debate that. Mm-hmm. But if you apply that to a horror story, say the killer, okay, you go around killing people. Well, then mathematically, you're gonna have to receive the consequences for that.
I see.
But how I make you do it was make it different from everybody else. It's how you get the consequences. And the worst fear is what your hands has done.
Right.
Your hands have done this. So you can't lie to somebody. We've seen your hands do it. The fear is, just an old classic master saying, anticipation of death is worse than death itself.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that in a horror story.
Gotcha.
It's like what's happened to me? Oh, you don't know why? Let's show you. And then the fear is uncontrollable. Your hands did this, and now they're about to pay for it, and you can't get away from it. You see it coming closer and closer and closer and closer to you, and you know why you're getting it, and it makes you even more scared.
In listening to you, I can already tell. I'm sure folks out there listening right now, like, oh, I have to hear this, bro. I have to read this brother's books because just in listening to you, I'm so engaged in how you're describing it and so forth. Now, before we get back into the conversation with our guest today, I want to talk about one of this episode's sponsors. Here at Into the Afroverse, we often talk about the various mediums of art and storytelling and how they can be used for positive social change, especially for Black people worldwide. Well, in the city of Philadelphia, known for its arts and culture, a fantastic organization called Mural Arts Philadelphia believes that art ignites change. Because of their work, Philly has become the mural capital of the world. You should travel there to check it out. Listen to this message from Mural Arts.
For over 35 years, Mural Arts Philadelphia has focused on using art not just to beautify, but as a means to provide creative solutions to address Philadelphia's most challenging issues. From giving a second chance to justice-impacted individuals, to welcoming immigrants and refugees with open arms, to amplifying the voices and ideas of the next generation. Mural Arts continues to inspire and empower. We believe in the transformative power of creativity. Art is more than just paint on a wall. Art ignites change.
If you're just joining us, this is Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones, here on WOL 1450 AM, 95.9 FM, where information is power. And we're joined today by a horror writer, Frederick Williams. Now, let me ask you this. You said that you were inspired by the stories from the 1970s, the 1980s, the movies that you saw and so forth. Was it difficult for you to see yourself in this space? Because during this time, you did have some Black writers, creators, and so forth that were delving into horror, but we didn't have strong representation in the 70s and 80s. So as an up-and-coming writer, was this something that was even more inspirational for you? We said, I'm going to be part of this because I don't see myself, or was it something that you really had to, wrestle with because you didn't see yourself in those spaces?
I see it like this. When it comes to horror, it shouldn't be no color.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you can't get around it either because we know as far as Black horror authors,
Mm-hmm.
we have a relatable experience.
I see.
So it's like our writing is going to be based on experiences that we can't get around, that we experience from day one to the last day. So when I was exploring my journey to this, I really didn't see that, but I can see why you can't get around it either. And as you go by the 70s and 80s, like, the best example is, of course, The Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
Black man was the main character of that movie. So you had him as a prominent figure in that movie, which is a cult classic and a masterpiece. So we need more of that. But the difference is we need a Black writer author who can do that movie and then do the movie.
Got you.
That's the difference. That's the difference. Is there's another movie called Night of Demons. I don't think a lot of people. A Black man was one of the survivors of that movie. How often do you hear that?
Right.
So, but the thing is still we need to have a Black writer, director, and movie to make it complete. That's what's the difference now. Right. That's what we got to change. And that's what I'm looking to do. I want to hear Black author Frederick Williams' story. This is based on Black author Frederick Williams' story, horror story. That's the difference by a Black director and a Black producing company, movie producing company or studio. That's the difference. That's what's I don't want to say it's missing. It's long overdue. It's way long overdue, and that's what I'm looking to change. So that's why I say if that's what I'm looking to. If somebody want to do that, well, we need Black horror directors.
Right.
I mean, Jordan Peele can't be the only one.
Right.
He cannot be the only one. We need several more of him.
Right. Well, the good thing is, with his success, and really even before that, uh, folks forget, Tales from the Hood, which, predated that. And I see it as like the spiritual godfather to the type of horror that Jordan Peele is doing. I'm happy to see more and more people getting into the horror films and the horror writing, folks like yourself.
Oh,
Real quick,
absolutely.
before I forget, please share with people how they can get your books. How can they find you?
Well, so far everything right now is on Amazon. You just have to
Mhm.
type my name up plus the title of the story to get
Mhm.
it directly to me.
And
It's
give us those
based on
titles.
Arizona, sir.
Give us those titles.
Oh, it's Frederick Williams, Two Sets Horror Stories. Frederick Williams, Justice and Judgment Horror Stories. And then Frederick Williams, Tales from the Rapers. And they're
Gotcha.
on Amazon. And I
Excellent.
appreciate anybody to give. I'll dare you to try and read them. Like I said, if you go on my Instagram page, I have reviews that I had throughout the years,
Mhm.
and you just read some of the reviews.
Right.
And some people, I had one review that said, "Man, I had to turn all the lights on in my bed to read one of them." I said, and I spoke to the person. He said, "Yeah," he said, "One of your stories, I had to turn on lights. It was so scary. I had to
Right.
turn on light." I said, "Man, you made look, man, the way you write, you talk like you write in somebody's bedroom about to jump out of the closet."
Wow.
That's
Wow.
how that was sharing that. Because my stories is about the thought. It's
Okay.
the thought. It's the thought that counts,
Right.
not the jump scare. It's the people call it psychological,
Hmm.
but I call it natural. It's
Right.
natural fear that you did not expect.
I see.
That's the worst fear because you didn't expect it coming
Right.
because it was so natural.
Got you. So let me ask you this. How are you able, with all the horrible things that are going on in the world now, if you turn on the television, turn on the news, you're reading online and so forth, the stuff that's happening in the real world that we're witnessing every day, it's pretty horrible and it's getting worse. How are you able to kind of keep us interested uh, through your writing, through these horror tales, when we're seeing so many bad things happen in the real world? You understand what I'm saying with that?
I understand. Yes, sir. I
Hmm.
understand. Take the emotion out of it.
Okay.
Take the emotions. Most of what you're speaking about, as far as hard things in the world, it's 99.9.9% emotional.
Hmm.
So that don't really count. It's emotional, and
Hmm.
everybody experiences emotional. But when it's calculated, oh, now you in a whole different level because it's
Right.
calculated. That's why I said mathematical. That mathematical thinking hard. See, somebody get mad, somebody's girlfriend did something to you, you get mad, emotional, and then you do something horrible.
Right.
That's emotional. So that's a spur of the moment thing. You got no self control, no self discipline, but you have both of those. You have self discipline and self control, and you do something horrible,
Hmm.
you on a different level.
I see. I
And
see.
so my horror stories is based on that. So you calculate it and discipline in that. Oh, so we got a special consequences for you in my horror stories.
Right.
That's the difference.
And that's one of the things that I like that I'm hearing is that there are consequences. You're not rewarding the person for their horrible acts. There are actually consequences too. And I think that's a lesson that if we're talking about real world horror, that's all too often overlooked. That someone does something horrible, like you said, calculated, planned, and they're actually suffering as a result. Now I want to go back to the title that I mentioned in the beginning that you corrected me on.
Tales
Tales
from
from
the
the Rape.
Rapers.
Can you
Yes,
give
sir.
us a brief synopsis to tell us what that, because that title right there has got me.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. Um, you know, when I go by I was talking about the consequences
Mm-hmm.
and no one gets away. that's like the ultimate expression of it. And then I put Tales from the Rapers. It's it's several ideas you're going to get out of this once you start reading the stories that form that.
Mm-hmm.
You got the idea of the rapers. So just imagine their consequences. Just imagine what's going to take place. They're expressing this, and my stories are telling you this is going to take place with that type of expression.
Gotcha.
This unimaginable. I mean, I could give you some hints and clues of one of my stories. I got one story that I'm working on right now with it's relating to a I want to say raper, but it's a molester.
Okay.
And this one is science fiction, fantasy, and horror. So he got this character and several kids that he wound up passing away.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it where they all come back to express their consequences.
Wow.
And what I wrote to this but what happened to this person,
mm-hmm.
it's gonna be like, oh my God, I ain't never saw that coming.
Right.
That's just a hint of one of the stories I'm working on now. That's gonna be doing on my next series of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never see that in horror. It's like, I'll give you an example. Freddy Krueger. He was a child killer.
Right.
And look what they turned him into.
Right.
I said, no, not in my stories. He'll be a character like that, but what's going to be worse than him is what's going to take place with him. And I combine science fiction and fantasy on top of horror.
I see.
So it's like it's like, wow, where'd that come from? How do you come up with that?
Right.
That's where the imagination and experience come into play.
And in dealing with such, troubling and shocking topic like molestation, rape, and so forth, have you found that some folks have been turned off by it, or have you assisted people? Like maybe someone is suffering with it, had been through this experience. Has it been therapeutic for people? What's been the response when you deal with those particular themes?
I haven't really heard any rejection of it.
Okay.
I mean, so far I haven't. I say so far I haven't. But I do get it when they read Tales from the Rapers. They're like, oh, that title alone, like, I don't even want to explore that book.
Right.
Because of the title alone. Well, I'd be like, well, thank you.
Right.
I've accomplished what I want to accomplish. If you like it or don't, it's a blessing for me. I see it as a blessing.
I see.
Because it's the response, it's the thought that counts for me. So if you read that title and haven't read the stories, you still accomplish what I wanted, and I'm happy for that.
I see. And where does this fearlessness come from? Because as a creator, like I said, you're taking chances writing things like that in terms of the way people can respond to it and so forth. Where does this come from, this idea? You're going to put it out there. And like you said, if you respond to it, if you take to it, I get it. If you don't, I get that as well. Where is that coming from for you?
It just not, I was always taught, you tell the truth regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You tell the truth regardless. It ain't what you just say something. No, if you're not telling the truth regardless, then why are you even here?
Gotcha.
That's what I was taught. And it gotta be mathematical truth. It gotta be truth based on the laws and principles. It gotta be told.
Right.
So if you're not going to be honest with a person, then you're not going to be able to serve the person. You're not going to help them grow and develop. You're not going to be able to see themselves in self-mastery. You're not going to be able to do that.
Gotcha.
So these things I was taught. So if I can affect one person well, then you're already halfway there.
I see.
You should be able to at least relate to one person. But if you get far more than that, well, that's just the icing on the cake. But as a person, as an author, you got at least one person, not zero.
Right.
But I like I said, I got quite a bit. Most of my most attention one is Tales from the Rapers.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
And with the cover and everything, but that's all done by design.
Right.
Because I'm letting you know, I am not holding nothing back. I'm going to be extremely honest.
Right.
And you're going to have to see. You have to make sure you check yourself at the door.
Got you.
Because if you don't do that, then you're being wasteful.
So for all you horror lovers out there, or if you have friends that are horror lovers, whatever, if you're celebrating the holidays, I think this would make a great gift. So if you could tell us one more time the book titles and how they can get them, and also your social media contacts and so forth, how can folks reach you?
Okay, well, mainly on Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Twitter, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm even on Pinterest, but I don't post much on there. But mostly, it's dominated by Instagram. And then again, my books are all on Amazon for right now. I'm planning on putting them on everywhere else. Excellent. But right now they're on Amazon, and you look up Frederick Williams, 2 Cents Horror Stories, Frederick Williams, Justice, Judgment, and Horror Tales or Stories. And then you got Frederick Williams, Tales from the Rapers. And they're all on Amazon so far right now.
Gotcha. All right. So, brother, we are coming up against it. As always, when I have these great engaging conversations, the time goes so quickly. Are there any final words you'd like to leave us with?
I'm still shocked I'm on here talking to this powerful brother here. And I hope to speak to him more and get more myself examples to express myself, my stories. And I'm just really thankful to be part of this.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, talking to Frederick Williams here on Into the Afroverse, 1450 AM, 95.9 FM. And also you can find us online at woldcnews.com. So tell your friends, like I said, you got some horror lovers out there, some folks that you want to introduce to horror. I don't know, this may not be the book that they want to be introduced with, but if you're into horror, make sure you check out the works of Mr. Frederick Williams. And so I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for being on this show. I appreciate your voice and what you're bringing to the genre. And I'm just looking forward to seeing more and more from you, and also your success. Because like I said, we can write all types of stories. We go and we take these stories in, we pay to see them in the theaters, we're buying them off the bookshelves. So why not be a part of that storytelling? So I really appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much. So once again, ladies and gents, you can join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Into the Afroverse with your host, William Jones. Special shout out to Mr. Duke Productions for producing today's episode. And once again, Mr. Williams, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.